Oh, hello. You are watching the Supply Chain Digital Show brought to you by Supply Chain Digital Magazine, Procurement Magazine, and BizClick. My name is Scott Birch, and I'm stepping in for Supply Chain Digital editor Sean Ashcroft, who's off sunning himself in the south of France again. In this show, we bring you all the latest news, analysis, and opinions from the world of supply chain every 2 weeks, right here on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and all of our other digital platforms as well. And at this point, it's my pleasure, genuinely, to welcome Procurement Magazine's new editor, Ilkan Ozsevim. Ilkan is covering for Georgia Wilson, who regular viewers will know is our usual editor for Procurement Magazine, but she is off currently on maternity leave. Hello, Ilkan.
Hello there, Scott, and hello all of our viewers, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. As I said, Ilkan is stepping into the procurement fold while Georgia is enjoying her maternity leave, and we're delighted to say, actually breaking news, Georgia has actually given birth to a beautiful baby girl, Clara Rose, who weighed in at a bouncing, I'm told, a bouncing 8.3 pounds. The important thing, of course, is that mother and baby are doing well, and we wish them every happiness. So now, a quick reminder at this point for all of you watching, please do come and say hello by posting in the comments section, which is underneath the show window. And also do vote in our LinkedIn poll. But yeah, come and say hello. Maybe tell us where in the world you are today and where you're watching from. But on that note, Ilkan, what is the poll question that we've asked this week?
Thanks, Scott. So our poll for this week is, how can firms best tackle inflation in the supply chain? And we have as options A, to renegotiate supplier contracts, B, digital twin scenario planning, C, design savings into products, and finally D, end-to-end supply chain visibility.
Well, yeah, interesting. I mean, there is the dirty word of the moment, which is inflation, and certainly it is really interesting. I saw a post actually from friend of the show, Sheldon Mydat from Sopico, actually, and he was raising this very topic yesterday, I think it was, on LinkedIn, and he was talking about how so many organisations are finding themselves, tied in to long-term contracts. But as you said, maybe renegotiating some of those supplier contracts and deals is the way forward. But it'd be really interesting to see, obviously, what our readers and our viewers feel about that. But we'll come back to that at towards the end of the show, where we will bring you the results of that poll. But there's loads to talk about, including we're going to be having a new look. Excuse me. We're going to be having a look at the new magazines for supply chain and procurement. But first, we'll kick off with the traditional latest news. So after a very brief sip of water, I'll start with the supply chain news. And it would appear there's yet another problem to add to the already long list of factors that are disrupting global supply chains. And this one is not man-made. It could be. Depends on your view on this. It's drought. Now, one of the stories that we've actually got on our website, there you go. You can see it right there. The headline there is Global Supply Chains Unprepared for China Droughts. And that's according to a recent UN report. Droughts globally are becoming more frequent and prolonged among all natural disasters. They exact the largest toll on human life. But as well as the appalling cost to life, drought is also having an ever-growing impact on the stability of global supply chains. And surprise, surprise, that's because it's in China where the greatest economic impact of drought is being felt, not just in the country itself, but globally, of course, because so many supply chains rely on China and Chinese labor. Now, at the moment, China is experiencing its worst heat wave in 60 years, and this has seen, for instance, the south of the country, which relies heavily on hydropower. It's been forced to ration its energy by closing factories. And Fortune actually reports that global supply chains are, quote, woefully unprepared for these droughts in China. And the problem is set to disrupt trade worldwide. Fortune also went on to say that the problem is yet another reason why companies should look to, quote, decouple supply chains from China. Now, among the companies worst hit are, you guessed it, the usual suspects, automakers and semiconductor manufacturers. Now, firms across both of these sectors have already had a foul taste of how China's water shortages can put the kibosh on production. And this came when the Sichuan province, which is a major manufacturing hub for both of those industries, actually ordered factories to shut down in order to conserve electricity. So, in summary, it's not the kind of news that already put upon chief supply chain officers want to hear, but there you go. Those are the facts. So, but let's move on from supply chain to procurement. And I'd love to say that we're going to talk about something a little bit more positive and heartwarming, but I don't think we are we, Ken? What stood out for you in the last fortnight?
No, unfortunately not, Scott. So for me, it was a story about monkeypox vaccines. This is an interesting one because UK health experts say a more efficient and sustainable monkeypox vaccine procurement strategy is needed if the virus is to be contained. They point out that monkeypox vaccines have a shelf life of just 20 days, and that the 100,000 vaccines the UK government has in stock is nowhere near enough to prevent a mass outbreak. And the problem isn't limited to just the UK. EU countries are also experiencing a shortage of vaccines, a paltry 160,000 of which are available for the EU's 27 member countries. Not only has the vaccination rollout been too slow, but also poor communication and management within the supply chain has also caused severe disruptions. And health experts in Europe and the US are now calling for governments to respond with more efficient procurement in health strategies. For the record, a total of 31,800 confirmed cases of monkeypox has been reported across 82 countries, a situation which the WHO has declared a public health emergency of international concern.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I must admit, apart from some initial reports that I came across several weeks ago, this has really slipped under the radar a bit in terms of global issues. Obviously, what with geopolitical issues in Eastern Europe, for instance, and other factors, and trade wars and issues with China and Taiwan and the droughts and wildfires and everything else, the extreme weather conditions we're having. But I must admit, I'd completely forgotten about monkeypox. And it looks like this is something that is a genuine concern, obviously. But yeah, I mean, when you look at how the world responded, I suppose, to COVID-19 and how they've managed to ramp up production, and not only production but also distribution and the logistics that were involved in that, then hopefully some some valuable lessons were learnt in that process to address the situation. But look, this is all really depressing, isn't it? But thank you, Kat, for that input. We are actually going to take an ad break right now, but don't go away. I promise we're going to come back with far more positive stories from the worlds of supply chain and procurement, and we'll be showing off the latest issues of the magazines as well. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this break.
We've really been able to solidify ourselves as a very important piece of the business in its entirety and the supply chain. My name is Brendan O'Toole, the Vice President of Procurement here at NutriBullet. So I'm responsible for all global sourcing efforts with regards to raw materials, packaging, and co-manufacturing relationships throughout our global network. The biggest challenges of our role are supply continuity and achieving cost structure. So procurement here at NutriBullet is really kind of surmised as one of the central pillars of our business. Collaboration through my department and just in general is key. We're 100% co-manufacturing as a brand and distribution company. So really on both segments, we wouldn't be where they are and they wouldn't be where they are in a big sense if we didn't have such a strong relationship from years prior, currently, and absolutely into the future. Really continue to scale and grow our business with strategic partnerships on both the active nutrition and functional beverage side that we have very strong here in the US, but are starting to occur in other markets as well, is a huge focus of our business.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Now, before we go any further, I did say I'm going to be a little bit more positive. So let's look at some of the people who are actually joining us today. As you know, our audience is truly global, and people have been saying hello from all over the world. So maybe if our glorious video guru Kieran could just pick out a few names from the list and share them on screen. Hey, we have Anil from India. Hi, Anil. Thanks for joining us today. Diaz. Hello, Diaz. I'm not sure where you're calling in from, but people calling in from Portugal. I also see in the list here we have people from Zimbabwe, we've got people from Ghana, from Bangladesh, from South Africa, from Morocco, from Kuwait, all over the world, Poland as well, Dominican Republic. So thank you all for joining us and for getting involved in the conversation as well. I hope you've all had a vote in the poll, because we're coming around to that later on. But before we do that, let's turn to the latest issues of Supply Chain Digital and Procurement magazines, which hit the virtual shelves this week. And let's take a look at some of the engaging and insightful content we've got on offer there. So, Ilkan, why don't you start us off? And is there a particular feature in Procurement magazine that you'd like to talk us through?
Yep. So my pick is there's an interview with Katie McEwen, who is community advocate at Tealbook, which is a company that offers business visibility on supplier data. McEwen talked about the high failure rate for digital transformations. Indeed, a McKinsey report suggests 70% of execs say that their company's digital transformation has been, quote, slowed or stalled. As a result of this, McEwen says many organizations are experiencing a form of what she calls digital transformation burnout. She says procurement is experiencing more than just wariness, that sometimes events can actually be soul destroying. And she says, I quote, after years of work, after millions of dollars spent, after sweating blood to gain stakeholder support, after a barrage of never-ending meetings, imagine getting the following email from your chief procurement officer. Due to unforeseen events, this digital transformation project has been suspended indefinitely. This is why she says supplier data must be at the forefront of any procurement digital transformation, because without it, an organization is unable to identify what exactly needs to be addressed by digital solutions. So, Scott, what would you like to focus on from the latest issue of Supply Chain?
Well, I did promise our viewers that things were going to get better, but it's a pretty gloomy outlook, a gloomy picture that we're painting so far. This is no reflection on you, Ilkan, of course. I'm just saying this is the state of the world right now. But one feature that did catch my eye from supply chain was relating to logistics outsourcing. And whereas this was once something that concerned only those who had no logistics function themselves, it seems now that some outsourced logistics is used by organizations as a way to differentiate and also to build resilience. Now, we spoke to not one, but two PwC logistics experts. They are Miles Lethbridge and Tom Wooden. And Lethbridge explained that over time, businesses have become more comfortable with outsourcing and also more educated about it. And I suppose this, he says, means they've become adept at using what they ask of outsourced providers as a point of differentiation. So Wooden, meanwhile, points out that outsourced logistics providers can actually help firms to mitigate against the acute shortage of labor and warehouse space that so many markets are seeing right now, because they actually have greater access to resources that could be shared across operations. So a really interesting feature. And they both actually also agreed that the logistics service providers have got deep experience of automation in supply chains and logistics operations and are able to share expertise in these areas. So it's a bit of a win-win, really. But yeah, do go to the websites. So if you visit our websites, I don't know if we've got the URLs, we can just run across the bottom there. But you can see all the latest news and features that we're discussing here on the show today. There you go, supplychaindigital.com and procurementmag.com. And if you visit the websites, you can not only read our daily news content and features, but you can also view the latest issues of the digital magazines as well. And that's all for free. You don't even have to pay for this. And as you probably saw from one of the features that we had up on screen earlier, we do have video content and interviews that's embedded into those stories as well. So please do go and take a look at the latest issues from September. So, Ilkan, I think it's about time to move on to the results of the poll. But before we do that, can you just remind us what the question was?
Sure, Scott. So the question was, how can firms best tackle inflation in the supply chain? And would you like me to read the results, or would you like to read them?
Yeah, no, you read the results, please.
Okay, so the results are in, and they are renegotiate supplier contracts stands at 17%, digital twin scenario planning 11%, design savings into products is 15%, and end-to-end SC visibility is at 56%, which is an obvious winner there.
No, absolutely. I was about to say that because quite often the polls that we have, we tend to get quite an even spread. But there's as you said, there's a very clear winner there, and end-to-end supply chain visibility is clearly the way that most people who voted. I think we had about 500 people who took part in the poll, by the way. So thank you for doing that. But the best way to tackle inflation, I mean, I can't really disagree. I think a way to maybe mitigate rather than tackle inflation, but mitigate is probably to have a look at those existing contracts and maybe try to renegotiate those. I'm not surprised, to be honest, that digital twin scenario planning came bottom, if you like, because I feel that while there are some great benefits that can be had from digital twins, I think in this instance it's the classic, almost like bolting the stable door. What's the phrase? Closing the stable door after the horse has bolted, that kind of phrase. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I shouldn't really use colloquialism, should I, on an international show? But yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all, actually. So end-to-end supply chain visibility, a clear winner in our poll. So thank you for taking part there. I'm just having a look here if there's any more comments. We had a comment actually about the outsourcing story that we just mentioned there. So Shan Mugan said that the outsourcing approach is a good way of managing complex supply chain. And another comment here relating to the poll, end-to-end visibility of the supply chain process is key. I think that's supposed to say is key and can be discovered by a digital twin. Fair enough. I stand corrected. Happy to have a conversation about this, by the way. Interesting results from the poll, and I'm glad it's sparking a bit of conversation there as well. Okay, so talking of conversation, in October, of course, we've got two big dates for your diary. We'll be having a lot of conversation and a little more action, please, as well, which is Procurement and Supply Chain Live London 2022. Now, this is a hybrid event, so we have both live and remote audiences, but with a difference this time. We're splitting the show into two zones. So we have Supply Chain Live and we have Procurement Live to create a single sort of expo-style experience. Now, if you haven't experienced a BMG show before, that's BizClick Media Group, by the way, you're clearly missing out because they attract a stellar lineup of top industry professionals who offer insight and commentary on the issues, problems, and challenges of the day across supply chain, procurement, logistics, and sustainability. But it's not just discussing problems. I know this show has been quite a focus of talking about problems that we're facing, but you'll hear from industry leaders and people who are making a real positive, meaningful change. And you can gain some insights from how executives and organizations who are leaders in their fields are actually tackling some of the problems that we clearly face today and in the immediate future. But let's have a quick video. I think we've got a promo from the event, so let's have a look at that right now. Welcome to day one of Procurement and Supply Chain Live.
I hope you will enjoy the session this morning.
Asking people to do absolutely everything is just not possible.
Harvard picked it up, and it's Harvard's first book ever on procurement.
I don't think there is a provider out there who can provide best of breed in all of these different aspects.
all procuring with government is complex.
Coming here to attend a great conferences, which were very, very interesting. I'm so thrilled to be here in person at Supply Chain and Procurement Live with Bisquick Media.
There you go. So that's a highlight from one of our previous shows. And as Sherry Heinisch says there, it's great being face-to-face in front of a live audience and networking with your peers as well. But if you can't make it to London for those dates, which we'll give you again in a second, then obviously you can join remotely as well. So you'll get all of the speaker sessions and you'll still have the opportunity to interact with all of the other attendees and all the speakers as well through our bespoke app as well. So you can join hybrid. So join us in person if you can. We're going to be in London, but if not, then please do join us online. And Ilkan, I know you're looking forward to that one.
I sure am, Scott. Actually, just a reminder, Procurement and Supply Chain Live London 2022 will be held at London's QE2 Centre from the 12th to the 13th of October. And to book tickets, please take a look in the comments section below, where you can find a link that you can follow. And we look forward to seeing you all there, and it's not to be missed.
Okay, absolutely. And so this is a new venue for us, actually, the QE2 Centre. If you aren't familiar with it, it's a fantastic location, actually. It's right on Parliament Square, I believe it's called, so overlooking the Palace of Westminster, which some people might internationally might know as Big Ben and that whole building there. But yeah, fantastic location, and it's going to be another fantastic event for sure. Okay, well, look, that's all we've got time for. Some really interesting comments coming in, by the way, about the poll. I won't go through those now, but if you are watching live, then do have a quick look at those comments that are coming in. And thank you for sharing those, everyone who's got involved. But that's all we've got time for now. We hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope that myself and Ilkan have been worthy understudies for Sean and for Georgia. Thank you for interacting with us and for watching live, taking part in the poll. And remember, of course, this show is available to watch on demand too. So please do share it with colleagues and anyone interested in supply chain and procurement. A big thank you to Ilkan on his debut on the show. You were fantastic, Ilkan, as I knew you would be. And thanks also to Kieran and Drew and the rest of the video production team, to Justin and the design team for all the great looking magazines that we've produced again this month, and Kaylee and the marketing team pulling all the strings in the background as well. This has been a Bisquick Media Group production, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye for now.
Bye now.